From alien spaceships to large submarines, to even giant monsters and buildings crashing, movie makers have tricked us all. I mean, you really didn't think that Khaleesi rode on an actual flying dragon in Game of Thrones, did you? Or that an actual earthquake and tsunami hit San Francisco, and they just somehow managed to make Dwayne Johnson being a hero amidst all of that. It's special effects and VFX which movie makers use in order to create epic and dramatic scenes. You gotta be wondering though, what movies out there have used special effects in creating mind-blowing scenes? Well, today we're gonna look at the most popular movies before and after special effects. But before we get into it, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, as well as smacking that notification bell so you never miss another update from us. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. Angelina Jolie played the popular character, and we saw a lot of flying on our screens. Now, we all know humans don't have wings, and for a fact, we certainly can't fly. So, how do they make it happen for her? Well, for the film's large number of sequences filled with flying human-based characters, each of the actors had a blue connection placed on their back in order to give an approximation of where their wings were to be digitally added. First, they tried using the puppet style of ropes and strings, but that didn't work. So, the cast members were strapped into flying fork rigs with a lever that enabled them to be controlled. VFX supervisor Brian Liston said, quote, "It's really about selling the motion of the wings trying to lift the characters and seem feasible because they have to be very large," end quote. If you have seen the movie, you know that virtually everything that moved was in flight. This was only about flying. Maleficent's feathers were also a great deal of computer generating work. After filming the actors on the blue connection rig, they were animating the wings with the editors matching the natural movements of the actors on the fork rigs so that way it would seem real. The production used a number of extraordinary physical sets, both interior and exterior. All in all, there was about 40 sets, and they were all complicated sets, both architecturally and technically. Life of Pi. This movie will forever go down in history as one of the best VFX movies ever made. The film crew built the world's largest wave pool in film history and created an entire storyline around a boy on a boat with a tiger. That is even the most mind-blowing part of it all. The movie, which was an animation, wasn't even shot in 2D, but in 3D. The film's director, Ang Lee, ended up giving us a little bit of an explanation on how some of the effects were done. He said, quote, "To make an impact with water, you usually need to create a 200-foot wave when shooting in 2D. I knew that to make it work with 3D, water had to become a character itself. I've never seen realistic water scenes in movies because water hits one side of a tank wall and bounces back like it would in a bathtub. But we need to make it work. So we created a massive wave tank. With the help of high-powered wind blowers and strategic camera work, they were able to make a deep-sea swell. Typhoon strength winds and a water cannon were also used to be able to blast the actors and make his actions more real. The visual effects film worked their magic after filming and gave us an ocean surface. The water was not the only part of the film that needed VFX. They also had to use animated technology to create the animals, including Pi the tiger, and add them in the scenes. Only one animal, a hyena, was actually on the scene. The actor had to act as though the animals were with him on the boat, and he had to watch his steps so he didn't step on any of the animals. The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. Middle-earth was such a beautiful place, but I believe modern-day civilization has scraped off such places, and even if some adventurous mountains and forests still looked like that, the cast wouldn't have been able to handle filming in such a location. Thanks to CGI and Peter Jackson's Weta Digital Studio, we got to see some effects in the movie. We follow Bilbo Baggins on his quest to reclaim the lost dwarf kingdom of Eberroth from the fearsome dragon Smaug. Due to the advancements in performance capture technology at the time the film was made, Weta Digital was able to capture facial performances in much greater detail than ever before. Then, apply this in the creation of creatures like Gollum, Goblin King, and Azog. According to Peter Jackson, one of his biggest challenges was creating the hobbits. These beings were not children, but were a fraction of an adult's human size. Jackson used a traditional forced perspective in order to create the illusion of one actor being smaller than the other. This included different sized props and carefully positioning a character such as Frodo in relation to another character of regular stature, giving an impression that they were of different sizes. Alongside the creature's work, Weta Digital's effects were covered entirely digital environmental builds in the case of Rendezvous and large-scale effects simulations. Godzilla Godzilla has been grazing our screens for more than 60 years, and in these years, the most remarkable aspect of the Godzilla series is the special effects, which is used to make the destruction of cities and other things look real. According to one of the movie's special effects director, the cityscapes to be destroyed by Godzilla are reproduced in exquisite detail in miniature. In order to be able to make the miniature worlds look real, good lighting is needed. Great attention is paid to angle, type, and balance of the light, which is used for filming. We've witnessed the film's progress in cinema history. The special effects techniques which end up bringing Godzilla to life have changed considerably, from a man in a rubber suit stomping around tiny Tokyo to miniatures and CGI visual effects. The most recent movie from the series, Godzilla King of the Monsters, is packed to the brim with battling behemoths. All of the monsters in the film reached the screen thanks to the digital artistry of the visual effects team at various studios. However, in creating the recent monsters, the creators did not neglect the movie's roots. Michael Daugherty, the movie's director, said, quote, "I want to emphasize that we utilized a lot of traditional methods for designing the creatures. We utilized every tool possible. CGI, traditional sketches, everything." 300, Rise of an Empire. Behind every scene is a large green screen. When 300 was released back in 2007, it brought with it the director's trademark aesthetic feel. Stylized battles, speed ramps, and high action were key elements of Zack Snyder's. The director himself returned for a sequel, but this time as a producer. 300 Rise of the Empire showed principal photography, which was used to capture mostly green screen and sound stages of significant visual effect artistry behind the film's final look. There were so many battles in the movie, and some of them took place while they were on ships. But not all the ships could be on the set. In fact, there were no actual Greek ships on set, and the Persian ships were so huge that only 1/3 of them could fit into the set. They had to make up for it with special effects. The actors were put on platforms to make the ships rock and roll like they were in heavy waters. The ship sets were rigged to gimbals. And for the battles, most of the fighting was achieved with mo-capped fight animations that they were able to render into cards and propagate around the beach. For the foreground fighting, it was choreographed by a stunt team who provided their own stunts for editorial. Mad Max Fury Road, a movie that won't make it far without a sprinkle of special effects. 36 years later, George Miller brought the Mad Max remake to life. Only this time, he had new technology and more toys to play with. Prior to the film's release, Miller gloated over the fact that 90% of the film was shot with practical effects. From the spectacular stunts to the Citadel extension and crowd work, to the CG toxic storm, to the removal of Charlie Theron's arm, to even the stylized look of the DI, the producers of Mad Max Fury Road touched everything with VFX. According to Andrew Jackson, the movie's VFX supervisor, the most prominent use of CG was the otherworldly looking toxic storm, which was created by Australian-based Allura. He said, quote, "It took a lot of work to make that look convincing, and we referenced the biggest tornado that we could find that split up into multiple twisters. In all, every part of this movie had major VFX in it. Fury Road pulses with stunning design elements and unforgettable action set pieces." Blade Runner 2049. One of the best movies with mind-blowing special effects is Blade Runner 2049. In the words of Gerd Nervzer, the visual effects artist, quote, "The whole movie was a big challenge, but the main one was for a scene towards the end of the film that takes place in a stormy and misty ocean. We had to build a special pool in Hungary for that. One of the best scenes was a threesome sequence with Ana de Armas, Mackenzie Davis, and Ryan Gosling, with the Armas holographic character Joy superimposed over Davis's human character. According to the director, he refers to the particular scene as quote-unquote the merge. However, not everything in the film was VFX. Some parts of it was actually built. The film's director said, quote, "We built everything. The sets, the vehicles. There were some specific scenes where I said to myself, I never thought I would have the chance to see that in my life as a director." That's a wrap for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and take care.